A recovery plan is not a promise you make to yourself. Sincere vows to stay clean under the immense pressure of a crisis usually fail. The research shows this happens repeatedly, but not because the people making those promises lack conviction. Sincerity is simply a feeling. Maintenance requires a structure. This diagram illustrates why relying on willpower in difficult moments is dangerous. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for deliberate choices, is highly active when calm. But the moment your stress response system detects a threat, that decision-making center shuts down. To build an effective recovery plan, you have to write down a specific set of pre-decided responses while your mind is clear. You are doing the hard work of thinking right now, so your brain doesn't have to figure it out later when you are overwhelmed. Surviving the predictable biological urges of addiction means engineering an architecture of choices long before the storm arrives. This timeline illustrates how the Department of Transportation follow-up testing period reinforces that architecture. Over the first 12 months after returning to duty, you will face a minimum of 6 unannounced drug and alcohol tests. Many workers view this as punitive surveillance. However, the data clearly shows the highest risk of relapse occurs in the first year. These tests provide absolute external accountability, exactly when internal motivation is most likely to waver. During this period, your relationship with your substance abuse professional continues. You are required to attend scheduled follow-up evaluations, even after you resume safety-sensitive duties. These meetings operate as clinical check-ins, assessing whether the education and treatment you received are holding up against occupational stress. They are designed to determine if you need additional support, not to grade you on a pass or fail scale. If you sit in that office and deliver a performance of flawless compliance, your SAP cannot help you. They need an honest account of the triggers testing your resolve so they can adjust your plan. These external mandates carry the weight of your recovery when your own strength dips. They are the primary, load-bearing scaffolding holding you up. Inside that scaffolding, you have to manage your internal mechanics. Neurologically, a craving is an automated signal generated deep within the basal ganglia. It anticipates a learned reward, running entirely outside of your conscious control. This diagram illustrates the mechanism that research from MIT breaks into a 4-part habit loop. A cue triggers the cycle, generating a craving that anticipates a reward. The brain then executes the routine, the substance use, to finally obtain that reward. Because this loop becomes hardwired into the basal ganglia, you cannot simply delete it. The cue and the desire for a reward remain permanently. To break the cycle, you must substitute a new routine between the initial trigger and the final outcome. To intervene, you first have to identify what initiates your specific loops. Habits are almost universally triggered by 5 categories of cues: a specific location, a certain time of day, a distinct emotional state, the presence of specific people, or an immediately preceding action. You are most vulnerable to these triggers when your deliberate thought processes are compromised. Clinicians use the acronym HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, or tired, as a self-check to recognize when those automated loops have the clearest path to override your judgment. When an unexpected craving does break through, you can deploy a tactic called urge surfing. Rather than fighting the impulse, you observe it. Cravings operate like physical waves. They rise, peak, and inevitably subside within 15 to 30 minutes if left unreinforced. Recognizing these biological impulses removes the sting of moral failure. Managing them requires pre-programming tactical replacements into your brain long before a craving ever strikes. Distributing the psychological weight of those cravings requires diverse support systems, starting with your employee assistance program. This is a confidential, zero-cost resource, and writing the number into your plan right now ensures you won't have to search for it during an emergency. Peer groups offer another crucial layer of defense, and you can choose the model that fits your values. 12-step programs like AA operate on principles of self-examination and spiritual surrender, while SMART recovery relies on secular, cognitive behavioral techniques focused on personal agency. Peer support, however, cannot provide clinical assessment. Licensed professional counselors are equipped to treat the co-occurring mental health conditions, severe mood fluctuations, and chronic sleep issues that often travel alongside addiction. Beyond formal organizations, simply connecting with a coworker in recovery acts as an incredibly protective barrier. Knowing someone who understands the exact pressures of your job prevents the isolation that often precedes a relapse. Finally, you need a strategy for managing professional boundaries. You do not have to disclose your entire medical history at work, but having a brief, factual conversation with your direct supervisor about your participation in a monitored testing program ensures they understand the protocols they will inevitably observe. A solitary recovery is brittle. True resilience comes from distributing the daily pressure across a wide network of clinical, peer, and professional connections. Even the most thoroughly engineered structures face unpredicted stress. A complete recovery plan maps out an immediate response for the moment the system fails. Relapse operates in 3 stages, and stage 1, the emotional and mental decline, starts weeks before anyone touches a substance. The foundation erodes invisibly through subtle behavioral shifts long before physical use resumes. You must map your own specific warning signs. Whether you stop returning phone calls, start skipping your workouts, or notice your sleep pattern fragmenting, you need to write these down and share them with a designated person who can spot the changes from the outside. If an overwhelming craving shatters your replacement routine and a slip occurs, your plan dictates your next action. Make an emergency call immediately. The highly dangerous 48 to 72-hour window begins the second the lapse happens, not when you finally decide to report it. If your chosen support network or the unannounced testing schedule begins causing you more distress than relief, your protocol is to bring those exact concerns directly to your SAP so they can adjust the framework. The absolute rule of early intervention is to trigger your contingency plan the moment an uncertain warning sign appears. Waiting to act until the threat feels serious guarantees you are acting too late. A durable life in recovery doesn't require perfection. It requires a system capable of detecting its own fractures and the discipline to activate the repairs before the structure comes down.